Welcome to the Tech Savvy Professor podcast, which features two faculty members who love tech and love making it part of their work. I'm Marty, a faculty member at Kent State University and tech enthusiast, and with me is Eric Perry.
Yeah, so my name is Eric Perry. I am a associate faculty and program director at Divine Mercy University.
You know, I keep forgetting the fact that I am co-program coordinator because every time I get on a podcast, I kind of block it out of my head. So I guess I could, I should say that too, that you and I have the same suffering. And before the show, we talk about the sufferings that we have before we get all the windows set up and ready to go. So we were staggering some of our shows. You were on a well-deserved vacation, I think. Is that right?
So on a field trip with my son. It was his sixth grade honors field trip. So we went to Wallops Island, Virginia. The Chincoteague ponies are there. It's the same kind of area. There's a NASA facility on site. So we traveled down, had a week full of science experiments, playing around in the mud, dissections. It was a blast. It was a really good time.
I used to live in Ocean City, Maryland when I worked in radio. So we would go down to Chincoteague. And in some cases, when my kids were really small, and all I remember is going through that park and one of the horses had blocked the road. And I don't know what the polite way to say this on a podcast is. It was a male horse, and the male horse was really happy.
That's probably as PC as you can get.
Yeah. And, so I didn't want to get my car too close because at that point, I think anything would be mating material as far as that horse was concerned. But yeah, that was my memory of Chincoteague when I lived in Ocean City, Maryland, when I worked in radio in Ocean City, Maryland. I haven't had as an exciting trip as you have, and certainly not as exciting trip as I remember from the horse at Chincoteague. But I did do some traveling. I went to Washington, D.C. for 3 days, and took some tech with me to just kind of test out on the road tech to see how things would work. And I think I mentioned a hotel router in a previous show. Did not work. Could not get it to work. I mean, and I think my hotel had active Ethernet because they had a box and they had a cable coming out of it and light flashing on and off of it and a little stand that you pull it through to attach to your computer. And I just could not get the device to work right. And frankly, the instructions weren't very good. And when I finally did get into a page, it was like, asked me to put in all this stuff. And I frankly wasn't smart enough to do it. So I've got to spend more time with that and do some more learning if it's ever going to be effective. My son is out in Las Vegas, and I sent one out to him, and he hasn't been able to get it to work. He found out essentially the hotel has Ethernet little jacks in the room, but they shut those off long time ago, and now it's mainly Wi-Fi in it. So that's been my time away and my experiences with travel. So today's topic, we knocked around a few of them via email, and recording and, ways in which you record your clients or I thought teaching, because occasionally we have to record teaching. And I, of course, have some equipment suggestions and ideas that people can look at. You came up with some ones that I think are just marvelous to talk about. So why don't you talk about options for client recording first?
Yeah, I think so. A couple of things are happening in my neck of the woods. So my agency is actually looking at a couple of different options for recording, and in particular, looking at those that integrate AI for note-taking. There's a ton out there. The most important thing to kind of pay attention to, I think, is ensuring that whatever you use is HIPAA compliant. So that's kind of like the number one concern. And especially if you're not practicing on your own, you want to investigate through your agency what they'll allow, what's permitted, kind of what's your approved technologies. But there's tons of them out there. Most of the kind of recording software that you're going to find being used within a clinical space for telehealth or that's going to help with recording are going to be platforms like VC, and it's spelled VSEE, or Zoom. There's several providers who use Zoom. There is a HIPAA compliant version of Zoom. Just about every platform that provides some ability to record is going to allow you to do that. But we were talking too a little bit more about the tech side of it, the types of things that we can use. I talked about on here before using Plaud AI and the Plaud pin. I have one. I've done some testing with it in a couple of different ways. I have not used it with clients thus far because it's not HIPAA compliant. It's not something the agency would approve at this point, but I'm hoping it gets there. I think it's super useful for note taking, for productivity. I'm using it more for writing at the moment to jot down some things I want to use for research projects and that kind of thing. The nice thing about it is it comes in two different forms. One of them is kind of a flat magnetic, looks like a credit card and maybe a little bigger than that. And you can actually put it on the back of your phone. It'll take recordings and transcriptions from your calls and that kind of thing. The other is the pin, which is kind of a round disc shape or oblong shape. The size, it fits on your wrist. It comes with a little wrist holder, or you can wear it around your neck. I even just set it on my desk and it seems to record pretty well. They do have HIPAA compliance, I guess, at this point. So it's something that you could check into to get that HIPAA compliant version. Now, they do require that you have a subscription to it for the premium features, but even just buying the device on the app, it does allow for a certain level of transcription without paying for that. I think it's really neat. It's done a pretty good job so far. I have this really bad habit of kind of getting mumbly when I'm thinking and talking out loud. So I've noticed, and I've learned to speak a little bit more clearly, a little bit more directly, so that it picks up, the words that I'm trying to get to it. And I think does a really passable job with transcription. I like the AI summaries it gives too. That can be really helpful, especially when you're brainstorming or thinking of ideas.
Yeah, I've used it for meetings. Obviously, you want to get permission of people who are in the meeting that you're going to use this device. And, most folks who are in Zoom meetings are used to that little thing coming on saying, we're recording this meeting for notes purposes and assistance in terms of that. So having used it in board meetings, I'm on a few boards and have recorded those board meetings. Then taking the transcript from it and then running it through ChatGPT and combining with that a agenda, it will do and make a whole set of meeting notes that is really pretty incredible. Haven't used it, would not use it with, I haven't, and I wouldn't just because of my situation, use it with clients. But it's really pretty cool. And I have both the pin and the Plaud Note, which is the MagSafe sign, kind of flat credit card connected to the back of your phone.
Yeah, the ChatGPT suggestion was a really good one, because I tried that out the last time we talked about it when I was tinkering around with it, and it seems to do a much better job organizing information than the Plaud system does.
Yeah, so we will have the link to this, besides showing the page in the video version of this as we're recording. We'll have a link to this in the show notes for folks who are interested in connecting with the website and seeing what that technology has to offer. You had another one, and I've got to say, it's funny because I said, let's do something on recording, and then I put my notes together and sent it to you, and then you came back with, damn, yeah, Plaud AI, I should have thought of that. And then this second one is like, if you go to, well, you'll see it on my site. I have purchased this 3 times. To probably 2 times as gifts for folks who are international teachers who come over and want to do some recording as going away gifts. I think I've purchased it. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so this is the Samson Portable Mic. They're relatively cheap, so they're $30 for the version without the webcam, and I think $50 for the version with the webcam. It was funny because we've talked about this one before, Marty, and somebody had asked at the center that I work at, what's a cheap mic I can find that's going to help with my sound quality. It's a little more portable. We have kind of a giant meeting room that we use for clinical staffing meetings, and we have the place kind of split between clinicians who do telehealth and clinicians who are on site. So I suggested this one because we've talked about it in the past and actually ran into some folks from the center because I do primarily telehealth now, and they love them, right? They're just fantastic. Especially being on a tight budget, they seem to work really well for what we needed them for. So I thought I would throw them out there as a really low end kind of option. I'm just a kind of a fan of how they look too. Like I like that kind of old style look.
And they fold up, into a rather little compact thing. Now I'm just staring at this and going, wait a minute, it's got a camera on it now? That's the $50 version. I had not seen, I haven't been back to the site since like 2021, but now they have one with a camera for $50 instead of the $30, and it's a 1080p, 30 frames per second HD, full HD. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, for as small as it is, even when you pull it up on the site, it looks bigger than it actually is.
Yeah. It's a pack of cigarettes. It's about a pack of cigarettes or smaller.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic to be able to just kind of plug and play and go and slide into your bag.
Okay. Yeah, it is. Of course, you have to attach it to a device. It's not going to record without being attached to a device to use to be able to do it. But yeah, one of my favorite little portable microphone giveaways. If I was going to do professional or if I'm doing professional podcasting, I'm not going to use this. I presume you could, but once you get further into podcasting, you get kind of sound nutty. And the better microphone you have, the better quality sound that you have. But this will do it in a trick and could be very good for that purpose. So I guess it's more. Yeah.
Sorry. It's great if you have a laptop and you're just plopping down and need to plug in a mic that's going to work better than what you have on your laptop and catch a couple of voices in the room, which is really what we have. Just need to catch a couple of people in the room. And there's like zero setup. It's plug and play.
Yeah, but there is a switch that allows you to go from directional to, around the room if you want to, if you have somebody sitting on the other side of you and you want to pick them up as clearly as you. So my selections for client recording, and we have our own counseling clinic at Kent State. So all of our practicum students go through that. And we do 2 practicums. We do 2 semesters of practicum. So it's an active clinic. It serves 40,000 clinical hours in the fall and in the spring. And so our counseling clinics are set up with rooms, and the rooms have cameras in them and microphones. And it used to, one time it was videotape. Then it turned into SD cards. They switched over to SD cards. But it was still a physical media that they were putting it on. And most recently, they made the changes to just do it in SSD. So it's now all stored there. And the system they have allows people to get into the system and be able to look at sessions and things like that you do with students. So that's the counseling clinic setup. Most recently, I have been working on a podcast with my son called Gear Up and Go, which is travel tech. And I'm I really try to push to get shows out weekly. And as it turned out, I was going away and Will said to me, hey, why don't we just record on as I'm driving you to the airport, or picking you up, let's record a show in the car, which I had never done before. And so I started looking for these things, and I have 3 suggestions for you. They're wireless mics. They can hook directly into your iPhone or your Android phone. And, you have the camera pointing wherever you want the camera. You press video record, and these things wirelessly will connect to your phone and catch the audio portion of it. So 3 that I have gotten and have used. The first one I want to mention are DJI Mic Mini. You have 2 transmitters and one receiver and a charging case. These are again small. For me, it's so hard to get out of the pack of cigarettes. It's like a thicker pack of cigarettes, but just as long and wide. And I haven't smoked in, God, how many years? But that's a descriptor for folks who are listening to this. You can go on, and again, we'll have the link so you can see it. And there were higher end versions of these, but I saw the DJIs done and used when I had some international teachers here. And one guy had this and was giving a presentation, and it was being videoed, but he was too far away from, not too far away from the camera, but far enough away from the camera that he really wanted better audio. So he switched to these. And I was like, oh man, these are cool. So when I thought about recording in the car, I thought about these. And this was the first set that I bought, $169. So, a bit pricey, but not as pricey as some. And I tried these out, and they did so well with noise reduction that in the car, you didn't get a lot of noise coming through in the final version of the video. And that was what was important. Now, obviously, if you're using them for counseling, you're not going to be driving in a car on the highway when you're doing it. So you don't have to worry too much with noise reductions. But the DJIs were really, really good. Well, when I start going down that path, then somebody pushes at me, you ought to take a look at these. Rode is an Australian company, and they are known for really good sound. And as you can see, the Rode has this little panel in it that gives you sound levels, and you can catch the sound levels of the microphones that are being done. So they come with 2 transmitters and, again, this receiver that you plug into the bottom of your... Now, if I'm putting the phone in landscape mode, the thing doesn't plug directly into the phone, but it plugs in via dongle. And so you got this thing hanging from your phone in order to do the capture. So it was a little weird for me. They also come with lapel mics, external lapel mics, if you want to use those that plug directly in. But they come with windshields and other sorts of attachments for it. The sound quality on them, I would say just as good as the DJIs, but obviously $125 cheaper than the DJIs, more expensive than the DJIs. So these are the Rode Wireless Go Gen 3. And it's a good setup. Again, it is a case that it comes in that becomes the self-charging sort of place for you to put all these together and do the charging with. So I wouldn't shy away from Rodes. In fact, my third option is, again, a Rode. And these are sort of the lower end without all the meters and balance and stuff that goes on. These are the Rode Wireless Micro. And a colleague of mine turned me on to these about a week ago, and kind of chided me into getting them, and they arrived today. And they are really pretty remarkable. Now I'm looking for them on my messy desk. Oh, here they are. They come in, if you're familiar with AirPods Pro, the case that AirPods come in, the case is just slightly, the Rode case is slightly larger than it. So it's really small and very good. And today I just tested them going over to a doctor's appointment. I plugged my phone in and I put one of the receivers in it and plug the chip into the bottom of it, the receiver chip into the bottom of it, and used one transmitter and recorded with really pretty good sound quality. I did not put the wind shears on it, but I did, even without the wind shears on it, it sounded pretty good. So these are devices that you could use simply if you were in the field and we're doing a session. You could record it onto your phone. Your phone hopefully is secure with that. And, again, very portable option to be able to do the audio and the video with it. So those links, again, are in the show notes if you want to take a look at them and want to see what the products are like. So let's go on to recording your teaching.
Yeah, so my suggestion still, even though I have a little story attached to it, the Obsbot Tiny Obsbot Tiny 2. I think it's been a really great device, great quality, 60 FPS, 4K, does a great job with lighting. I think the panel's really easy to use. The zoom function works really well. There's a lot of preset settings in there that you can use as well. The AI tracking seems to work well. I'm still getting used to some of the hand gestures. Sometimes I do them accidentally, particularly when I'm teaching and gesturing. But I think it really does provide a good experience. My one issue that I've had with this, at the first one I ordered, it has a gimbal that moves the camera. The camera itself is rather small. It's easy to throw in a bag, but that gimbal either wore out or broke, so the camera would no longer move. So I sent it back. They sent me another one, month, maybe 5-6 weeks later, the same thing happened. So I don't know if I'm just getting a bad batch, because I know others who have it really like it and haven't had the same issue. But, I really do like the quality. I like the AI tracking. The microphone's just okay, but it's usable. I think it's portable enough to take with you if you want to do some recording, and I think it's great for teaching. I've done quite a few videos with it, both high res and doing some like split screen sharing and those types of things, and it's come out really well.
Yeah, I'm going to share an alternative, and these are the two companies that are back and forth: Obsbot and then Instalink or Insta360. This is a Link 2. It's a 4K webcam. The pricing is $199, so you can't complain about that in terms of pricing with it. And I'm using it to record this podcast, or vodcast, I guess. It's my camera that I use instead of my built-in camera. And it does a really nice job. It has some good software that allows you to make some adjustments to lighting and such. So, but if you were going to do that with your teaching, how would you use what is traditionally a webcam as a way of capturing your teaching?
So I use it a lot. Narrated PowerPoints, sort of just screen sharing in your voice, I think don't allow the students to connect with you as well. So I like to do the kind of picture-in-picture with myself there teaching while sharing the screen or sharing a PowerPoint or notes. So I think that can be really helpful. I've actually done the physical whiteboard thing where I have the whiteboard in the room with me and I'm kind of walking through notes. It was helpful teaching research and talking about some of the basic calculations that you need to know and be able to do as a part of research. So that's often how I use it, is just to make sure that I'm part of that video and they have some connection with me, especially because I primarily teach online.
Yeah. And I guess our experience would be a little different because I primarily teach in the classroom. And I'll tell you, my selection is trying to respond to that in terms of how do you record in the classroom. A few years ago, I was sitting on Dean's Advisory Committee, and there was a faculty member at our institution who was using 360 cameras to record teaching. And I'm like, that's just a gimmick. You don't need a 360 camera to record teaching. And he was doing, of course, he wrote a grant, so he got some money to buy the cameras, and they were his to use, and they couldn't be used by anybody else, and nor would they need to be. But I thought, what can you get from a 360 that you can't get just from doing a regular straight-on face-forward camera? Well, obviously, if you're going to record your teaching, and you've got to get permission from students if their faces are on camera. So shooting from the back of the classroom to you is probably the best opportunity or the best shot. But this guy was putting them up essentially in the middle of the room. And since then, I've gone on because I've gotten a little fascinated with this technology and got one of these Insta360. Now I have an X4. The X5 has come out and it has 8K, just like apparently the X4 does, but it has better light sensitivity and some other additions. It's running at around $599. But this is the X4, and this is the bundle. So if you purchase this without the bundle, you'd probably knock $50 off of it. And I went ahead and purchased it with the bundle. I put a 128 gigabyte chip in it, and it's really pretty remarkable what it can do. There's some videos that are on the web that you can find, and one of them is like the 12 different camera settings you can do with your Insta360. And they do the selfie stick thing. They do the bullet time where you can, and I have one of those where you can swing it around your head and it'll take pictures of you and you could slow it down, and sort of bullet time it's kind of fun.
So this is like a GoPro alternative.
Yeah, it is. But it is literally 360. And I have one shot that I did. I put it on a selfie stick in my office, and it did a 360 of my office and then stopped and returned to where I was. I've used this for some video. I'm producing some video for entertainment. And what you get, there's an interface that comes with it that is basically your video editing software that allows you to pick where you want the camera pointed at certain times, because it's capturing everything 360.
Yeah.
So you could have it primarily with the editing, you could probably have it just on you as the teacher, or if a student starts to talk, you could switch to that frame and have the student, as part of that. So instead of having multiple cameras, you have one camera that's capturing everything in 360. And frankly, there's not a lot of, distortion on the ends. You can adjust for that in the software. But I finally got why this guy thought this was cool. Well, it's cool. I don't think you get different data in terms of your classroom, because he was interested in students' behaviors in classroom with the teaching. I don't think you get different data from a straight shot if you're doing teaching, but it was a interesting camera and an interesting setup for this. And again, you can get a bundle that includes a cover for it, that includes the SD chip or the micro SD chip, some protective frames, and a selfie stick that goes along with it. There are some deals right now on the X5 that if you use cowords, and people that are promoting the X5 on their shows, like macOS Ken, and I think Chuck Joyner was doing it for a while, they had like codes that would get you a selfie stick for free. And the new thing is it's an invisible selfie stick. So somehow it's got something on it that the camera sees and then wipes out. So it's like the camera is floating with you as a drone above your head. So it's got some fun stuff with it. But the idea of setting that up in a classroom and being able to shoot and have it for evaluating your teacher seems pretty cool. So there's some ideas for people to spend money. That's always a good thing, getting folks to spend money on ways of recording video and I guess audio too. Well, with the Plaud, it's audio and audio only, but ways of recording video and audio for your classroom teaching or for working with clients at some capacity. Of course, all of that needs to be done with permission and security and safety in terms of HIPAA compliance with the devices that you're using. Anything else you'd like to add in?
I don't think so. I'm thinking I'm going to have to buy an Insta360.
The 360 view?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd have fun with it. Here's what I suggest you do. Before you make a commitment to doing it, and if I can find the link, I'll send it to you. There is a 20-minute video where the guy goes through 15 different shots. Now, for me, what makes it so cool was this was in Istanbul. Mm-hmm. So I have been to Istanbul a gazillion times. And so it was me like a travel trip to Istanbul and all the fond remembrances of me being there. Plus, I get to see the different camera angles he shoots with using it. I'll send you that link, Eric. I'll put it in the show notes too for folks who might be interested. And then you'll let you know whether or not you're a very creative guy. I've always appreciated that about you, is that I look at a piece of equipment or software and go, oh, wow, cool. You come up with brilliant ideas on how to use it. If you're going to get it, you make sure that you have a good purpose for it. And so I think seeing that video, you'll go, yeah, now I think I really need to get in on this. I'm not sure you need the X5, because I'm not sold on the differences. It does have some, I guess, motion support to adjust for motion. But I think the 360 X4 also has that. So yeah. Take a look at it. Glad I'm spending your money.
Right.
God knows I've spent money on all the stuff we talked about today. I cannot convince myself for another $500 on this 360 X5. I just can't. I can't do it. Not the amount that I'm using the X4 at this point.
Yeah, I think the X4 would probably be a good place to start.
I don't know do they have an X3?
This is the in-show research portion.
Yeah, this is where they have an X3. They have an X3. 5K 360 active HDR video, 4K single lens camera video. Has a touchscreen on it, $300. But you can get it with an action kit. That's that bullet time thing you can swing around your head and other things for $350. Yeah, that's the X3's running around $300.
It's not bad.
All right, so thanks for listening. Thanks for watching us. I want to, before we go, remind you of the MacStock conference. I wish I could get Eric to come to the MacStock conference, but he's an Android guy. It is MacStockConferenceandExpo.com. It is a 3-day festival of nerds. It's all folks who like technology, very comfortable, very easy to meet new people there. I'll be there. My son will be there. And some other podcasters that you might listen to will be there. We're going to have people from Ecamm. We do this show using Ecamm and record the video, passing it through Ecamm. So there'll be Doc Rock, who is like the spokesperson for Ecamm, and someone else doing workshops on Ecamm. So I'm excited about that. Just a whole bunch of tech stuff and daily, the 3 days of 45-minute or 90-minute presentations on all different kinds of ways of using your tech. MacStockConferenceandExpo.com. Check it out at that web address. $50 discount if you're going to show up for the conference just by using PodTalk50 in the checkout. You can find out more about us at thepodtalk.net. That's a website that contains information on this podcast and other podcasts that we do, including Circular Firing Squad and a slew of them that I'm involved in outside of that. Look for us on Spotify, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, and all podcast servers. Our bumper music is from Philip Gross, Rast from the Free Music Archive. Everything you need to know, again, is at thepodtalk.net. Look for our other shows, Circular Firing Squad, and then the one I'm doing on Mondays with another Eric, my doppelganger Eric, called Vision Profiles, about VR headsets and the Apple Vision Pro. That's it for this episode. Thanks for subscribing to the Tech Savvy Professor.